Amongst the beautiful landscape of North East Somerset lies much forgotten history. And we are going to go and explore some ruins that have a 1,000-year connection with Bristol. The whole of the UK is littered with forgotten castle ruins, and Somerset is no different. And even if you come here, or live here even, you might not realise just how many castles are hiding within the countryside.
We're here at one right now.
Hidden in the forest, just off of a public footpath in East Harptree, the ruins of Richmont Castle can be found. Richmond Castle originated as a motte and bailey castle built by the Normans in the 1000s, and it was built upon the remnants of an Iron Age fort. Its name, Richmond, is derived from Great Mountain. It's hard to see because the trees have all grown up now. The canopy is way above our heads. But back in the 1100s, you would have had a view here all over Chew Valley and into the two combes that come off of Chew Valley. And it really is a pretty spectacular drop down to the babbling brook below, which you can just about hear in the background. And by drop, I mean quite a literal cliff. Of course, the view now being obstructed by these beautiful trees. Of course, the natural high point on the edge of the valley being a perfect place for both the Iron Age people and the Normans to build their fortresses. In the height of its glory, Richmond Castle formed part of a managed landscape complete with its own great park and artificial lake, where literal royalty came to seek both servitude and refuge. In 1138, a war broke out between England and Normandy, known today as the Anarchy. The only legitimate son of Henry I died at sea, and Henry declared that he wanted to be succeeded by his daughter, Matilda. However, soon after he had died, Henry's nephew, Stephen of Blois, quickly seized the throne with the help of his brother, who happened to be the Bishop of Winchester, Henry of Blois. I said that these ruins had a 1,000-year connection with the city of Bristol. See, during the Anarchy, the battle between King Stephen and Empress Matilda to take power of the English throne, in 1138, King Stephen tried to siege Bristol Castle, but failed. But the local Richmond Castle here in East Harptree in Somerset, just a 20-minute drive from Bristol, was at the time the home of Sir William de Harptree. Sir William de Harptree was an Empress Matilda supporter, and so King Stephen turned his attention to Richmond Castle. So if you're wondering where the name Harptree came from, the Domesday Book actually lists Harptree as Harptrow, meaning military road by the woods. And Harptrow itself is actually a late Anglo-Saxon word. So, King Stephen besieged Richmond Castle and he won, taking territory of the local North East Somerset area. And it's hard to think when we're walking around this peaceful forest that this was once a centre of political war. After a long and complicated war, it was finally agreed that Stephen would reign, but Empress Matilda's son would be the heir. But there is another story that I would like to share. That's not just the Anarchy and the war between Stephen and Matilda, but one that may have its roots in some kind of truth, but it's almost most definitely a British fairy story, and that's the one of Robin Hood. And I say that with the lightness of heart, and that is because in the 1200s, King John, the successor after Richard the Lionheart, came to visit Richmond Castle and stayed here. And I think we all know King John for being the bad guy in a number of very popular Robin Hood tales. But back to reality, recorded history shows King John famous for the signing of the Magna Carta. And if you're interested, a well-preserved original copy of the Magna Carta can be found in Salisbury Cathedral. The Magna Carta itself is a real testament to common society's pursuit of justice and freedom, which in turn echoes back to those same tales of Robin Hood. Just walking around this area, these walls are vast, they're tall, easily taller than me in many places, and yet almost nobody knows if this place exists anymore. By the 1400s, Richmond Castle had fallen into ruin, and by 1540 it had been pulled down under the reign of Henry VIII to build a local manor house. I do wonder how many houses in East Harptree today is actually built from the stonework of Richmond Castle.
I think Richmond Castle is an amazing place because it's in a forest and it makes it feel very magical, as well as the history is very interesting to me.
As a listed scheduled monument, it would be very hard to find many records of archaeological digs and excavations here at Richmond Castle, but that doesn't make it any less fascinating. And here behind me, a likeness of, I think, possibly King Stephen, or maybe Sir William de Harptree. And behind him you can see the very rich mount for which Richmond Castle bears its name from, just sweeping up behind him. Actually just saw another family walk past, take a picture of this figure and walk away. And all around us is the stone walls of this 1,000-year-old castle. It does have a certain magic to it, as Lizzie said, to run around a forest with 1,000-year-old walls sweeping through the floor, and then a lone carved wooden figure of the history that once was.